So I'm just going to welcome you guys again. I've given you the small friend, and today here we're going to do something different in the Obsidian Mirror Tavern. We're not just going to be having drinks, or I've almost finished my wine, and discussing and chatting. We're going to do that. But I had a few questions that were asked by a patron that were very important, and I wanted to not do a lecture because that's boring and this is supposed to be a fun spot on a Saturday night, you know, but I did want to show you guys the answers and how you would look them up properly. Okay, so what we should be having today, but this is what we're having today, actually. Okay, the Invisible College, right? So as you can see, a little bit, you know, of inspiration and magic. So the Invisible College is a group that I do for the people who I'm mentoring, and basically it's a round table of Knights Templar discussions, more advanced things. So I have Philip doing that with me at the moment, but I can do that with other people as well. So just to let you know. So the Templar Rule, there isn't one rule to rule them all. This is not Lord of the Rings, okay? We do not have one rule to rule them all. I think I should always begin with that. So I've got on screen just a few examples, okay? These are modern, kind of modern, all right? Let me just minimize me for a minute. So in the middle, we have the English version of the Rule of the Templars by Upton Ward, which is good, is not bad, and it contains 686 articles. I'll talk about how it was expanded later on, okay? But it's probably the one that Tatiana used, or based on that one. Ah, I'm psychic. No, not really. Well, I am, but never mind, you know. So the problem with this one is that it left out a lot of the original text, unfortunately, that was in the medieval rules. And why? I don't understand, because the one we have on the left, okay, in French, La Règle du Temple, okay, that one is by Henry de Curzon, translated into modern French from Latin manuscripts and also French versions of the Latin Rule. And this was translated into modern French in 1886, okay? I know you all don't speak French, but if you have to use a Templar Rule, that one is the one to use, because that one contains the entire text, the entire everything. It hasn't, in fact, I have gone through the medieval French version, the first one that would have been, or one of the first, which is actually in the list of the 16 accepted surviving versions of the Templar Rule, historical surviving versions. I will show you it in a moment, and you can all access it free online, but I will send it to you guys. So he did a very good job. And I can tell you he did a very good job because I read the entire damn thing. The one from 1886 and the one from the 1200s, okay? So word by word, he transcribed everything, word by word. I took the whole entire summer. It took me, I think, like 4 months to go through it, but I did it, okay? So now, for those of you who don't want to bother with the French and want to pick something that is more complete than the Rule of the Templars, with a little warning, okay, I would recommend the one on the right, okay? The Temple Rule of 1129 AD, translated by Prince Matthew of Thebes. I don't know who Prince Matthew of Thebes is. I looked him up. He seems to be a very controversial figure, or somebody who, like me, has exposed the truth and is having everything thrown at him. But I don't care. What I care about is that he has translated the first 76 articles perfectly from the French of 1886, which is a perfect copy of the medieval. That's what I care about, because the rule is made up of 72 or 76, initially it was 72 articles, the Latin rule, which would have been published, we believe, in 1128 and made public in the Council of Troy in 1129, okay? So that was the Latin rule, which you're going to see in a minute as well. So later on, okay, that one initially had 72 articles, okay? So the first ever Latin rule written by Bernard de Clairvaux with Hugh de Payens had 72 articles and was made public, presented at the Council of Troy in 1129, okay? Now, we believe that around 1138, the next Grand Master in that time, Robert de Craon, okay, he would have ordered the translation into French because not everybody knew Latin. This is the actual, so I mentioned to you guys that there are 16 historic Templar rules in Latin, Catalan, French, okay, and Castilian Spanish that we can speak of that have survived. There can be more, maybe, but that we know of and that have been recognized as 16. This one that I have today here comes from the Walters collection, which is one of the 16 mentioned in the list, okay? Can't remember the date off the top of my head. I have it in the next slide, but it's from the 1200s, okay? And this one was found in Flanders, okay? Flanders, so important area for the Templars. And it begins, as you can see it there. Let me just move us 1 second, guys. So in the top, okay, there are no headings, there's no numbers and no divisions. So in the top it says, commencez le prologue de la règle du Temple. Okay, you see that first red line there. So that's the prologue of the Templar rule, of the French rule that would have been translated, one of the surviving historic Templar rules, medieval, okay? Now, I'll show you the date on this one. So that you see, this is the love poem that was found inside of it. So I just thought it was interesting. So you can see it here, and I'm going to put this on Patreon for you guys to download, okay? And those who are, well, I'll make it available publicly on Patreon for everybody to download. You can just join my Patreon for free, guys. You don't have to join as a patron, but of course the talks and everything else are for members. But I'll make this a public listing. So Walters Museum, Rule of the Templars, and it's the last quarter of the 13th century, so the end of the 1200s, okay? This one was found in Flanders, okay, and it tells you there the region, parchment, it's Old French, so from 842 to around 1400. So this, for me, if you're going to look at the core 72 articles, okay, that is the most complete, and I'll show you why, okay? Because it includes, if you look at the text in the next page, it actually includes it's in English, but it includes in English the perfect translation, because I have checked myself that the translation is perfect. It matches a translation of Henry de Courson, and it states that it has based the translation in English from Henry de Courson. So I can see that this is true and it has been very well translated. I have no problems at all with the translation in English. Very good job, okay? But it only includes the first 72 articles. That's the only problem with this one, okay? However, it includes the text that Upton Ward includes in that Templar Rule, which is a modern Templar Rule in English, but also the text that has been left out and omitted from the original Templar Rule in Latin and French in red. So we can see the red parts and the black. The black is going to be explanations or the normal text, but the red text is always going to be the text that was original to the Latin and the French, the medieval French rule. And that's what I like. And I went and verified it with the medieval rule, and I'm going to show you this, okay? So let me go. For example, just going to minimize this here. Okay, so Tatiana asked me a question, okay? She said that I was talking about the reverence of the divine feminine, and that I mentioned that it was in rule number 2 that the Knights Templar were devoted to the the worship of the divine feminine. There was a word, okay, that was used, dame Dieu, okay, and she couldn't find it in the translation by Upton Word, okay. So I've put here just to show you, okay, what, and we can look at the Upton Word one as well, but just to show you, okay. So rule number 2: before all things, whosoever would be a knight of Christ choosing such a holy communion. This is what my Patreon member said to me that they could find. However, rule number 2 has more text than this. Okay, so this is what you saw, Tatiana, in Upton Words. Okay, so whoever would be a knight of Christ choosing such holy communion strained by your profession must apply pure diligence and firm perseverance, which is so dignified and so holy and so noble and known to be, that if it is guarded purely and durably, you will deserve to hold company among the martyrs who gave their souls for Jesus Christ. Okay, that is marked red. That is in the original French rule and Latin rule, correct? But scroll down, guys. Okay, now in between, there's an explanation in English, which sometimes can be very helpful. I agree with the explanations contained in this rule. Okay, now if you go down, okay, and let me move us again. Okay, this is not in Upton Ward, and this is important, guys. Okay, so in this religion, it's talking about a different religion than the Catholic Church already. In this religion has flourished and is revitalized this order of knighthood, which other knighthood despised the love of justice that constitutes its duties and did not do what it should, that is to defend the poor, widows, orphans, and churches, but strove to plunder, despoil, and kill. This also relates to another question that was asked of me by Tatiana, which Crusader, Templar, is that the same thing? And why do I say that the Templars were not that involved in the Crusades? Well, pay attention, guys, because this is in the original Templar Rule, in the Latin and the French one. So they're saying that their order is the only one, really, that is defending the poor, the widows, the orphans, and churches, while the other ones are striving to plunder, despoil, and kill. Okay? They're not happy about the Crusades. You can see it right there. And then it says, the good works of Our Lady of God, in French, Dame Dieu, but I'll explain that word in a minute, are with us, and our Savior Jesus Christ. He has sent his friends from the holy city of Jerusalem on the path to France and to Burgundy. Remember, guys, I said Burgundy is very important. So those families that I showed in a map a couple of weeks ago that moved to France and Burgundy, the Templars are already telling us that here, okay? They're telling us there, he has sent his friends from the holy city of Jerusalem on the path to France and to Burgundy. Those who for our salvation and for spreading the belief in the true faith do not cease to offer their souls to God a pleasing sacrifice. So we see this here in the French, and you're going to forgive my bad French, okay? But I've marked it here for you guys in yellow, okay? So this is the first part of which I'm not going to read, of the rule number 2. But you can see here, okay? So at the bottom here, after the justice part, okay, it talks about here, okay, about, okay, so here, bien ouvre, okay, bien ouvre, Dame Dieu, avec nos et notre Savieur Jésus Christ, okay? So, Tatiana, are you reading? Okay?
Yes, yes, it's
Bien
clear.
ouvre, Dame Dieu, okay, avec sos et notre, okay, our, okay, Savior, Jesus Christ, okay? And then you can see there, lequel a mandé ses amis, who sent his friends, okay, de la Sainte Cité de Jérusalem et la Marche de France et de Bourgogne, okay? So he has sent his friends from Jerusalem to France and Burgundy, okay? So you can see the text is identical to the one that you have on the right, which is the English translation, identical. And I'm going to show you this in the medieval rule, identical, word by word. So you don't take my
But
word.
they removed all of this from the other rule.
Yes. So you see why I'm angry.
Different.
You see why I'm angry and why I am fighting.
I'm angry too.
This is why I'm fighting for the Templars to be heard, because the Templars have been censored.
Yes.
That's not a correct translation at all.
They
You know,
they completely removed Dama Dieu.
so
You understand that this is not so often. I know I read Hal
mm,
Nicholson's articles and everything, but I mean,
mm.
this is not spoken so broadly. I mean, that's why I
No,
was
it's
telling
not,
you that
because think about
your
this.
work, it's so important because this needs to be spoken more. People need to be aware of this.
There, let me show you the Dame Dieu. There it is. Okay. So that's just to show you the previous paragraph. Okay. And that's the French text. So, viens ouvre Dame Dieu avec nos et notre Sauveur Jésus-Christ. That's the actual transcription from the Henry Curzon book. All right. On the left. And the page on the right is from the medieval French Rule of the Templars from the Walters collection. Okay. I'm going to give you a list now of all those. But can you see? And
Yes,
I've put up the top that
crystal clear.
it matches the French text of Henry Curzon. So if I go here, okay, so you can see here. So it starts here. There's the B. Bien à ouvrir avec nos dames Dieu. Okay, you see that. So bien à
Yeah.
ouvrir nos dames Dieu et notre Sauveur Jésus-Christ. Okay. And then it continues on with the same text, the same text, okay? So, but let me show you a next
This
page.
is crystal clear, Helena. This is crystal
I
clear.
had to show you instead of explaining it,
Yes,
because I
yes,
wanted you guys to see the deep betrayal to the Templars. Deep
yes.
betrayal. So this is why I get so emotional, okay? And why the next question was 64, Rule 64. You said to me, I've gone to Rule 64 and it also doesn't say anything about Dame Dieu there. And Dame Dieu was a word that was used in medieval times, guys, to refer to not Mary, okay, because the Virgin Mary is known as Notre Dame. Dame Dieu is the feminine aspect of God. Because
Sophia.
Marie, when they use in the text Saint Marie, they're meaning Mary Magdalene. But Dame Dieu is completely, you can see Dieu is God. And Dame is a dame, So it's the feminine force or the feminine side of God, which in Gnosticism we call Sophia. Okay. The goddess for some as well, Isis, Astarte, Ishtar, the Shekinah, Ashira, many names. The hidden goddess in the Bible. All right. So in here, this is what, so you can see here is the servants of the church, according to the authority of Our Lady of God. Okay. Dame Dieu. Okay. So you see that there. Okay. And in French, les savoirs de l'Église, okay, selon l'autorité Dame Dieu. You see that?
Amazing.
So, have I answered your questions? And I haven't gotten to
Yes,
the last ones, okay? And
perfectly.
wait, let
Yes.
me show you this on the medieval rule because I had to find it, guys, in medieval rule for you guys. So, you can see a close up there. Okay, so the servants of the church, according to the authority of Our Lady of God, have only food and clothing and do not presume to have any other thing unless the master by his good will wishes to give them something out of charity. Right, you see there, okay? So, et nul autre chose, présumant devoir se les mettre par son bon gré, ne le veut donner en charité. Okay? So, Rule 64 in the medieval text, guys. So this is actually the heading of the, so they don't divide anything with numbers or anything. How you find the headings is in the red text, okay, which is des prêtres et des clercs qui servent de la charité. So basically on the clergy and priests who serve charity, okay? So the part that I've read to you about Dame Dieu is there, okay? Can you see?
Yes.
Dame Dieu, all right? And you can read the actual whole paragraph. So That's the first two questions that you asked me. Anybody have any questions? I'm happy to.
I have here the primitive rule of the Templars by this one very well. Is the book written by Bernard de Clairvaux or Hugues de Payens?
Yes, it's the same that you're seeing. It's green, really, but it's different versions,
But I can see here, I see nothing about Dame Dieu.
So yours doesn't
Nothing.
have it either.
No, so I don't have it in this one, which is.
And I'm going to send you the sources.
This is so unbelievable because it's
they have censored and silenced the Templars. Their real message. And that's important because for me, okay, guys, for me, the Templar mission is this very easy, very easy. The Templar mission is the cross they wear, okay? The cross they wear here on the left. What is that? The union of the masculine and feminine and the balance between the two. On the left side, because the left path is the feminine path of Dame Dieu, of Sophia. That is what the Templar cross means. It has nothing to do with the Catholic Church or Christianity. The cross is one of our oldest symbols, as you guys have seen, some of you in my previous talks about the Jerusalem cross. It dates back to 40,000 years. And the first time we see a Templar cross is in Mesopotamia with the sun god Shamash. So this, okay, is very useful if you want to do what I've done to actually go through the medieval French rule yourselves, okay? You need very good eyesight. You need a lot of patience and to come back to the text and leave it and come back, because sometimes the words, the way they wrote them, everything's jumbled together. But this is really useful because this is the headings, those red letters that I just showed you in the text as headings. Remember, okay? So you can see the headings here of all of the articles, okay? In the version of 1886. So that's the Henry Curzon version of 1886. So basically, I found the text because I had no clue on what page it was by going to the heading 64, you can see there here. So of priest and clergy, okay? So frères and, it's actually up here, sorry. Okay, and then going back, and you can see the heading there in red. You see it? Des prêtres et des clercs qui servent de la charité. Okay? So, and then looking for it in the text, but I knew. I'm very well, how should we say, I know the Templar Rule kind of almost all by heart, okay? So I know more or less where it should be, all right? But you can't do this. And I do recommend, it's a spiritual journey to do it. Quite nice to do this. Because what I did when I finished reading the Templar Rule, I actually cried. When I discovered this, I cried because I felt we've been lied to. We've been lied to. So these are the existing, let me move you guys. I'm making you all dizzy here. There. These are the existing versions of historic Templar rules that we have, that have survived and are considered to be authentic and recognized worldwide. The medieval French version that you have been looking at with me is that one, number 12, right there. It's important, and I've been saying this, and Spain has a very, very large collection of Templar archives that have not been explored. In Catalan, okay, so we have in Barcelona, the archives of the Crown of Aragon, okay, we have the Templar Rule there, all right, in Catalan, okay, medieval Catalan, and we also have it in Spanish, in Castilian, in Madrid, in the order of Montesquieu, that the ones that have survived, we have 3 from Spain. Well, we have 3 from France, so, 4 from France, okay? So the same. And in England, we have 1 in British Library, but in Latin. We don't have any in English, actually, and everything else. But what I want you to understand today, just to make it easy, is that the Templar Rule follows an order of articles. There's an introduction, a prologue, and then the articles are grouped based on categories. So the clergy, the dead brothers, eating habits, traveling brothers, and whatever, okay? That is true for the Latin and French rule, and they follow the exact same rule. This is why it was easy for me to look up the medieval rule without any numbering or anything, because it follows the same pattern as the Latin and the same structure. It should do if it's a good copy, and it did, as you could see there. So, but the regional versions, the order had many languages: Spanish or Castilian Spanish, French, Italian, Polish, Swedish probably as well. And it was because Sweden, I haven't talked about it yet, but I'll get to, there's many Cistercian monasteries in Sweden, and we have found Templar graves in them. Okay, so, but the problem is that the regional versions of the Templar Rule differ. They all tend to include the 72 core articles. Tend to. When I say tend to, I'm going to show you the Catalan one, which does not. It eats up the first two articles and changes them around and whatever. So what the regional ones do is the Templars basically adapted to where they were, and they integrated the local traditions and customs. So you will have rules in the Catalan rule that you will not have in the French or English or Italian. And the order of the Spanish or Italian or whatever does not follow the order of the French or Latin. So when you're trying to find something, it's like a needle in a haystack, because the order is, and there's things missing and things added. One rule, now you understand why I use the Lord of the Rings thing. One rule does not rule them all. No, no. I'll show you now, okay? So that is from the Corona de Aragon, okay, from the Spanish ministry. You can see it there. You can access this. I'll send you guys a link, but I have a close-up version, okay, of an actual page from a Catalan Templar rule right there. It looks very different than medieval French. There are no headings here at all, so save yourselves. None. And the order is quite different, okay? So, and there's pages missing and stuff, but Spain has the largest archives at the moment of surviving Templar records, which is why it's so interesting. And not a lot of historians have translated or worked with them. So I hope to be doing that, okay? So just for fun, I went, inspired by Tatiana, Tati, I went to the historic translation, the equivalent of the Upton Ward in Spanish, just to see what was an Article 2 or Rule 2 and Rule 64. And of course, there was something completely different. So you can see here. So number 2 here is talking about basically the types of prayers, okay? Article 2, right bang when the rule starts. Not the same thing, okay? And there's things missing, and I did not find Damedio anywhere. Okay, the Spanish one does not. It did, however, okay, if we go back just very quickly, okay, now we can see there afterwards in 69 and 70, it's about married brothers, okay? You can see there. Frère, okay, 69, frère marié. Marié is married, frère marié. And then we have the sœurs de l'ordre, the sisters of the order, number 70. Okay. In the medieval, that's there as well. Oh my God, there were women in the Templar order, and it's in the medieval Templar rule. And what the hell have I been saying the last few years? So anyway, and Dr. Helen Nicholson said it as well. It's there. It's there, guys. It's there. Okay. So, but the Spanish one does have that. I was quite surprised. So it is there. Okay. Where is it? 1 second. So there it is. Okay. In Spanish. I don't know if you can read. Tatiana, you will understand a little bit. And Jimmy, you will understand it. But, you know, ¿de qué suerte se han de recibir los casados que quisieran entrar en la hermandad? So how should brothers who are married be received into the order? Basically tells us that there's no problem in having married brothers, but they have to give their property. It has to be donated to the order. So their wife will not inherit anything when they die, okay? And then afterwards, and this is 55 and 56, so not the same numbers, okay? You can see there in Roman numerals, LV is 55 and 56. So the articles don't match the ones in the French and the Latin rule, which would have been 69 and 70. That's why I wanted to show you this. So you really have to know your rule to find things sometimes. And then, que fuera de estas que no se admitan aquí en adelante otras hermanas. Okay, this is really important because the whole women were not admitted into the Templars. There's a paragraph in Helen Nicholson, Dr. Helen Nicholson speaks about this, and she says, wait a minute. And in the text I sent you, Tatiana, that was there, it says twice, from this moment on, women shall not be admitted into the order from this moment on, because it was so common. And we have records of the names of women who were not just maids or nurses, they were full Templars. Some of them running preceptories in Spain and in Switzerland of those words back then. You have to forget your thinking hat of now and put on your medieval thinking hat of then to understand what those mean. So in any case, I think I've answered your questions.
Yes. And I'd like to thank you because it must have taken you so much work to put this out. So I'm very, very thankful for this. I mean,